Hi and welcome to my first book haul. I have called this video something clickbaity like quarantine book haul or lockdown book haul or something along those lines, because technically these are all books I've bought since the middle of March, which is when London at least went into proper lockdown. These are not books that I bought because it was lockdown or because I was particularly bored in self-isolation. In fact, it didn't really change my book buying habits at all. But it sounds catchy, so I'm going to call it that, and I've got 13 books to show you today. I'm going to show you these books chronologically, but the first four I have to show you I did get at the same time in, I think, April. The first one is Sissy by Jacob Jabaya, which is the best book I've read this year. Honestly, you can go listen to me rant and rave about how much I loved it. This is their memoir. Jacob is non-binary, and so this is called A Coming of Gender Story, and it covers their life all the way from childhood, when their gender identity was sort of first being explored and then sort of rejected and crushed by society, to their relationship with family, friends, their time at school, relationship with the church, life as a teenager, coming out as gay first, and then later in college realising their true identity as a non-binary person. And it was just so amazing. Honestly, I'm showing you this one first, mostly because I got it first, but also because I want you to pay attention to this one the most and just like go and buy it. Everyone needs to have this book. The second book I have to talk about, I kind of have the opposite feelings towards, and it is The Penelope Hour by Margaret Atwood. This one I didn't really like. I thought it had a lot of potential because it's meant to be like a sort of retelling or reimagining of Penelope's side of the story. Penelope is the ever faithful, patient wife of Odysseus, and she waits 20 years for him while he like goes off to war for 10 years and then sort of spends 10 years coming back to her and sort of fucking around and meeting different people as he does so. And I wanted to see something from her point of view because she is so overlooked in the original myth, I think. Unfortunately, when I read this, I found it quite disappointing. It was yet another Margaret Atwood book I did not really enjoy. The next book I'm going to show you is The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. This is a fantasy story. I'm not sure if it's YA or adult, but I believe it's inspired by like Russian mythology and folklore. And so our protagonist's name is Vasya, and she's been raised with all these like stories and folklore and magic and all that kind of thing. And then I believe she has like a new stepmom who is like very anti all that kind of thing. I'm not sure if it's because she's like really religious, but she's kind of like anti all the folklore and like magical local tales, and I think Vasya is sort of rebelling against that. And also I'm pretty sure like magic is real because otherwise it wouldn't be a fantasy story. And this is the first in, I think, a trilogy. I haven't read this yet. I'm hoping to in the coming months when it starts getting a bit like darker and colder. And so if I like this, you might see the second or third book in my next book haul, whenever that may be. Next we have Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna Maguire. This is the first in her series of novellas, sort of around the same topic or set in the same universe, where it's all about different characters who have, as children, gone to a sort of magical world in the style of Alice in Wonderland or Narnia, but then had to come back somehow, maybe been forced back or accidentally came back to the real world when they really didn't want to, when they were very, very happy in these magical, crazy lands they discovered. But now they're back, they have to try and sort of deal with their experiences and readjust to the normal world again. So this book is about Nancy, who has just come back from sort of a creepy underworld, World of the Dead type place, which she really didn't want to leave. And now she's back, she has been sent to, what's it called, Eleanor West's Home for Wayward Children to sort of deal with her experiences and get over that. And when she's there, she gets to meet a lot of other people who have sort of had similar experiences to her. And this book is also kind of like a murder mystery, so it packs a lot into very, very few pages. And it really, really impressed me, and I'm definitely going to read on with the series. I think that each book tackles a different character's perspective of maybe their time back in the real world or their time in the magical world. I'm not entirely sure, but I really did like all the characters we got to meet in this, so I'm really, really hoping that we see them again in their own books in the future. Next we have My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyinkan Braithwaite. Technically I didn't buy this book, my sister did, she got it from the charity shop. But I got it from her when I swapped it for a shirt I no longer wear and that she wears all the time and basically belonged to her anyway, so I think I got a pretty good deal. This is a contemporary crime thriller sort of a book, where it's basically what the title says. It's about the main character whose sister is now technically a serial killer because she has killed 3 people. All boyfriends or ex-boyfriends of her who she says were posing some sort of threat to her. but our protagonist, Corridor, doesn't quite believe her. So this book sounds like it's going to be grisly and gruesome, but really at the heart of it, it's about the two sisters, Corridor, our protagonist, and Ayla, her sister, the serial killer, who's sort of the younger, more beautiful, carefree one who literally gets away with murder. So again, another kind of quick, very short read, which I would highly recommend. Next we have my first ever anthology, which is A Phoenix First Must Burn, edited by Patrice Caldwell. This is a collection of 16 short stories, which are all science fiction or fantasy or kind of a mix of both, written by black, female and gender non-conforming authors who tend to be kind of overlooked within those genres. And so if you're like me and you had never read from any of the 16 authors within here, I would really recommend it because I was kind of treating it like a taste test to see if I enjoyed any of their writings and if I wanted to read more from them in the future. And it definitely worked. I really liked reading this. I liked the vast majority of the stories, and it has kind of given me, a menu of authors to read more from in the future. The stories in here really range all over the place, and they sort of go from contemporary urban fantasy stories, which to be honest were the ones I liked the least, to kind of high fantasy, incredibly poetic, beautiful short stories. There really is like a mix of everything. So I would really, really highly recommend it, even if you've already read from all 16 of these authors before and just want to get a little bit more out of them. I think this is a really, really good book to pick up. Next we have a massive hardback book, The Guest List by Lucy Foley. This is a really fun murder mystery set on a teeny tiny island off the Irish coast where a wedding is about to take place between Will and Jules. They're both kind of famous, and so the story follows those two and then some of their closest friends and family who come to the island a few days before the wedding and the reception itself, and one of whom is going to get murdered. This book has a really interesting structure where it literally keeps you guessing and on tenterhooks till pretty much the very end of the book. So if you are a really big fan of thrillers and murder mystery, I would definitely suggest this. Next we have the book with, I think, the coolest name out of this book haul, which is This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Mohtar and Max Gladstone. I believe this is about two opposing sort of soldiers or agents on opposite sides of this war who can time travel and are constantly trying to like undermine and fight the other one, but I also am pretty sure it's a slow burn romance. And to be honest, it just sounds right up my alley. I have heard that some people are like really ranting and raving about how much they love it, and some people are saying, oh, it was really disappointing and weird. I'm hoping I'm going to be in the first of those camps. But with a name like this, and with the two main characters being called Red and Blue, it just sounds too cool to be disappointing. I'm hoping. We'll see. Next, we have my second ever anthology, bought mainly because of the success of the first one, which is 1,000 Beginnings and Endings, edited by Ellen O and Elsie Chapman. And this is 16 short stories, all retellings or somehow inspired by Asian mythology and folklore. If I look at the list of authors, I have not read from any of these authors before, and in fact I only really recognise like 2 of their names. So again, I'm going to see if I enjoy the individual stories from here, and then if I do, I'm going to add those authors onto my list of people I want to read more from in the future. So again, some potential foreshadowing to a future book haul of mine when I haul some of these authors' actual books. Next we have the one actual book I got for my birthday. Normally I just like to get book vouchers because I'm quite indecisive on what books I specifically want to read next. So I tend not to give out a list of like, oh, can you buy me these specific books? And I just say, can you get me a Waterstones book voucher? But my friend Daisy asked me specifically, what book do you want me to get you? So I sent her my Goodreads like wish list shelf, and she picked one of them to get me, and it was 1,000 Ships by Natalie Haynes. This is another retelling of Greek mythology through some of the female characters, and this one, unlike the Penelopiad, it doesn't stick to one particular character. I believe it covers the perspectives of a load of the different female characters within the story of the Trojan War. So the title 1,000 Ships is a reference to the quote, "the face that launched 1,000 ships," from I think the play Dr. Faustus by Christopher Marlowe, which I vaguely remember studying for English A-level. And that quote is about Helen of Troy, who is supposedly the most beautiful woman in all the world, and it was her either being seduced by or running away with on purpose a prince of Troy that like started the whole 10 Years' War thing. I'm pretty sure this book was nominated for like, is it the Women's Prize? Is that what it's called? Like some famous literary prize. I'm pretty sure it was either longlisted, shortlisted, or won, like one of those options. So that sounds promising, and I'm really hoping I enjoy that. Okay, these last 3 books are ones I literally just got from the Waterstones by my work last week. First off, we have this absolute brick of a book, which is Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J Maas. This is the 6th and final book in the Throne of Glass series, not counting the sneaky little novella she wrote and tried to force everyone to read, which I have not read, and also not counting the sort of 5.5 book, which is kind of like one of the minor characters going off and having his own adventures for 600 pages, which I don't want to read. I will, but I really don't want to read it because I think it's going to be terrible. I don't like the character it's based around, and I think if it was actually relevant to the plot, it would have been properly integrated into the main series and have a matching cover. But anyway, I digress. This is the final book. It is big enough to take someone out with, and at this point in my reread of the series, I'm currently about halfway through book 4. I don't think I'm gonna like this book. If I'm totally honest with you, I'm mainly reading this because I want to know how it ends. And I owe it to myself from 5 years ago when I first started reading the series to see it through and know what happens at the end. I 100% already know what's going to happen. Mainly because I really don't think Sarah J Maas will surprise me. I don't think she's going to kill anyone unexpectedly or do anything to subvert the tropes she is so heavily reliant on. And also because I did see some spoilers for this book, I won't lie. But this book is like literally 1,000 pages, I think. Oh, I'm trying not to look at spoilers as I check the page number. Okay, it's not 1,000 pages. It's 980 something pages, which again is too long. She needs a better editor. But yeah, let's move on from that one. On to our penultimate book, The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. This is an author who I believe mostly writes thrillers, and I've heard lots of people like really talking about how amazing all her books are. Specifically, Michaela from Books and Lala, who's like one of my favourite channels ever, she really loves this book, and I was like, okay, you convinced me, I'll try it. This is like the UK paperback cover, which I didn't know existed, so I was quite surprised when it turned out looking like this. But this is about a woman called Rowan who gets hired to be like a live-in nanny for a family, and they have like a really like smart house where everything's like got electric locks and has like, I know, Alexa and Google controlling everything. And I believe it starts after her time as a nanny when one of the children in her care has died and she has been arrested for murdering the child, except she insists it wasn't her and there's something else at play. So I think it's kind of like one long flashback about what actually happened and hopefully some spooky thrillery stuff. So the final book I have for this book haul is still in its Waterstones bag, so I thought I would do a sneaky little unboxing cover reveal moment. Because this book is The Girl Who Smiles Beads by Clementina Wamaria, and I only know what the hardback of this book looks like. This is the paperback. I ordered it off the Waterstones website, and they had absolutely no preview of what the cover looks like. So this is like a little reveal moment for me as well. Oh my god, it's really tight. Ooh, I like it. This is the cover. Oh, I really like that. That's so pretty. So this is a memoir about the author's time during the Rwandan Civil War. She was only 6 when it started, and I think she fled from the country with her sister, and they spent 6 years being refugees in 8 different countries before, I believe, eventually coming to America. And I first heard of this book a couple months ago when people were sharing lots of graphics and recommendations for books by Black authors. And so as I was looking through those, this was one of the books that really caught my eye because I don't know anything about the Rwandan Civil War, or really Rwandan history in general, or actually the history of any African country. So I decided to start with this book and learn about the author's experiences, and it sounds really harrowing and heartbreaking, but with hopefully a happy ending for her and her sister. So those are all the books I have gotten since March. I'm gonna try and hold them up in shot. That's what people do in book hauls, right? Okay, let's see if we can. Hey, look at that. That's a thumbnail right there. Amazing. So those are the 13 books I have got since London went into lockdown. Of them, I've read 6. So not terrible odds. I'm not doing too badly with them. I also want to briefly mention the ebooks I've borrowed from the library because that is a thing I now do. The first one is The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins, which I've got the audiobook for. The audiobook is 28 hours long. It's going to take me a long time to get through, mostly because it's quite boring and I don't like it. And the only reason I'm listening to it is because it's my book club's current read. And to be honest, I've already known about it for like 2 months and I have only just started it, and we're meant to have a meeting every month. So that's kind of my bad for not finishing it in time. But I really don't like it. And the other book I have from my library is Tower of Dawn itself, which is the 5.5 book in the Throne of Glass series I was just ranting about. It's about Cole and his various dumb, I'm sure, shenanigans he will get up to. And the only reason I'm reading it is because I think you have to read it in order to read the last book in this series, which is very sneaky and I don't think should be allowed. If it's compulsory reading, it should be a proper book in the series with a matching cover and not like a weird companion novel where I'm like, I really don't want to read this, do I have to? And Sarah J Maas is like, yes you do, but I'm being sly about it. That's not okay. But I am going to read it anyway because I'm a sucker for pain, I guess. And because, like I said, I read this series 5 years ago, never finished it, and actually want to achieve that at last. So wish me luck, I guess, with all these books, including the ones I do not want to read, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!